Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Friday, June 25th, 2021. It's George Orwell's birthday today, born Eric Blair. It's also Sweet Lady's birthday today, so I got to be quick. I asked Sweet Lady if I could please make this video because, again, another opportunity for people to wake up to what a joke the information is that's in the news media. And a lot of people won't get today's joke because most people don't ever get the jokes that are done on us every day in the mainstream news. But most people won't get the joke of Derek Chauvin getting 22.5 years in prison. Now, there's a book that exists in the world that's been out for a year before this sentence was made. But this book right here, if you have it, you know exactly why he got 22.5 years in prison. Because as this book explains, and as we've been explaining in this community since this news broke, since May 27th, 2020, when we first covered this thing with 225. But if you go and look from George Floyd's October 14th birthday to the day he supposedly died, May 25th, was his 225th day of his age, 225. And then the very next day, the Catholic Church of Minnesota settled a lawsuit for $22.5 million for sexual abuse in the state of Minnesota where George Floyd was killed. And of course, there's a whole lot of other 225. The week before the George Floyd reported killing, you had the death of the leader of the Jesuits, the Superior General, Adolfo Nicholas. He died May 20th, the day leaving 225 days left in the year, 225. And his name in Gematria, Adolfo Nicholas, equals 225. Like the phrase, the Great Tribulation, period of suffering in the Bible, mentioned in Revelation. But again, just so many 225s, and here's another. And, the other number we always talk about with Minnesota is 52. Today's news comes on a 52-date numerology. Minnesota equals 52 in Gematria. I like how they hosted Super Bowl 52. And today's news is also 13 months after the supposed killing, May 25th, Memorial Day. But just to remind, here's the headline from May 27th. Remember, May 26th was the day the George Floyd news broke. He was supposedly killed the day prior, Memorial Day, but the news broke May 26th when the media released the video of his killing. And the very next day, out of Minnesota, this headline: Minnesota Catholic Diocese to pay $22.5 million to sexual assault victims, file for bankruptcy. Again, George Floyd in Minnesota, killed on his 225th day of his age. This in the headlines the next day when everyone's paying attention to George Floyd. And remember, the Skull and Bones member, Steve Mnuchin, who also works in Hollywood, he announced on May 22nd, the news went out that day, May 22nd, 22/5, that they were going to be delaying the Harriet Tubman $20 bill. And that's interesting because George Floyd, the story was that he was arrested for a counterfeit $20 bill. That just happened to be days before. And of course, Harriet Tubman in Gematria has that 201 in it, like the Jesuit order, like George Perry Floyd. They're all 201. And that's the number of the Jesuits. And again, that is who's behind orchestrating these numerical rituals. The Jesuit order, related to the Catholic Church. We're on their calendar. We speak their language. They encode the same numbers in so many things. For example, Event 201 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation of October 18th, 2019. If you look up how long it was 225 minutes long. The Event 201 coronavirus pandemic simulation was 225 minutes long. Look it up. 3 hours and 45 minutes is 225 minutes. And there's a reason they keep repeating this number all over. And in light of the George Floyd killed on his 225th day of his age, and let me see if I got this here. Here's George Floyd, October 14th, 73 to May 25th, 2020, 225th day of his age, in case you were doubting that stat. But with regards to the Catholic Church sexual assault for $22 million the day after the George Floyd news, Consider that we had the story of George Floyd's second grade teacher, Waynell Sexton. Waynell Sexton. Anal sex. You see? These are sick jokes. This is a mockery. This is what's done to us every day, and nobody catches on. And remember, he was talking about how George Floyd wanted to be a judge, and that motto that was emphasized in the news, justice for George Floyd, equaled 110 like Minnesota, and the justice for George Floyd came on April 20th, the 110th day of the year. You know? I mean, this stuff, though, you guys, it is sick. And, yeah, it's not hard to see where it's coming from either. And again, here's Adolfo Nicholas, who died May 20th, the day leaving 225 days left in the year, right before the George Floyd news. And just to switch slides for a second, let me see here. This is my ebook. I just want to go through where I pointed out, you know, the things about 225 in the book. So the first time I mentioned anything about 225 is on page 21, the death of Adolfo Nicholas, and page 71, remind about the Adolfo Nicholas example. Page 72, again, just starting to build the 225 list. All of those things. Well, the one I think I did mention, if you write out the Great Tribulation, it's also 225, which is the period of suffering in the Bible and Revelation. And but yeah, all these pages just showing how if you have not read my newest book, it's called Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, and it's very much focused on that period of time and the related agendas so that people can see the bigger picture of what's being done by scaring us with terrorists from caves and invisible germs. By scaring us, they're getting us to give up our rights and liberties, allow a surveillance state to be put in place, and allowing life as we know it to change in so many different ways, as it did after 9/11, as it's doing after COVID. This is how the world's being shaped. But what my book shows is who is responsible, why they operate this way, and how you can prove it. And that's exactly what we need as a society to overcome what's upon us, but most people are nowhere near even realizing that there's a problem. And that's why we're in a tough spot right now. But again, the point is 225 in my book, a pattern I brought up because I saw that it really did bring a lot of things together. And here it is one more time just being flaunted in front of our face. And again, just all throughout the book, pointing out how 225 connected the George Floyd story all the way back to coronavirus with the Event 201 simulation. So my only real point in showing this is just, you know, it's documented in more than just a web page, you know. It's here in print, pointing out what these people are doing and what they're coding, and again, who's responsible. And yeah, even the Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, when you had the shooting in Georgia of Rashard Brooks right after the George Floyd killing. Remember, the Rashard Brooks killing happened on June 12th, 612, after the George Floyd killing in the Minneapolis area code 612. And the 612 area code Minneapolis, then the 612 killing of Rashard Brooks, then they burned down the Wendy's on the day leaving 201 days left in the year after the George Perry Floyd 201 ritual. A lot to it. But, yeah, just, again, then that happens on the governor in Georgia on his 225th day of his age. And remember, it was Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. That was the big focus on the racism story of the year before the George Floyd killing happened, and then it went back to Georgia with Rashard Brooks. So Georgia. And then just so happens that, you know, the big retaliation in Georgia after all the 225 stuff with George Floyd happens on the 225th day of the governor's age. And of course, it's not coincidental at all. It's because these people are essentially chosen pawn pieces on the chessboard where we're living out the I guess the planned chess match, and we're here on the sidelines just watching it, but we bear the consequences of what happens. So Yeah, but it's funny that the last time I mentioned the number 225 is on page 320. Remember, George Floyd was pulled out of a Mercedes ML 320, and the police cruiser that first pulled him out of the car, if I remember right, it's like police cruiser 830, but then they move him over to the other police cruiser that is 320, just like how he was pulled out of the Mercedes ML 320. Remember, in Gematria, Roman Catholic Church has that 320. That's who the Jesuits serve. Again, that's who's behind all this stuff. So, anyhow, that is all for now, True Seeker. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. But it's all number games, day after day. And these numbers have meanings to these people. And again, there's always more to understand. But a lot of these numbers taken right from the Bible versus number references in the Bible. So, and again, Catholic Church, $22.5 million lawsuit the day after George Floyd dies on his 225th day of the year. Sexual assault is what the lawsuit was for, and then you're hearing about his teacher, Waynell Sexton. Again, you guys, we got to wake up. Thank you to everyone who likes this video. Please share it. Don't worry if people don't respond or they give you ridicule. You did your job getting it out there and giving them a chance. And again, I think part of the reason we're not moving anywhere is because there's just not enough courage in the world. There's not enough courage, there's not enough care, and there's too many people that are worried about critics. Don't worry about these critics. They're the dummies of our time, and it won't be the people who are out trying to make a difference. At least those won't be the people to blame. So, anyhow, we'll leave it there.